erase myself.
Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. I am Sarah.
Hi, I'm Joannette, and welcome to the Soul Sisters podcast, where we share soul-searching real conversations between best friends who are on a spiritual path together in real time in our real lives.
In our real homes with our real distractions and interruptions.
There's a real cute baby right there.
He's really sleeping, finally. So we might have a minute to talk about a real subject.
What is today's real subject?
Let's talk about intuition. Let's talk about teaching intuition. Let's talk about recognizing intuition. Let's talk about what it is. My experience of intuition is that it can be both physical or it could also just be emotional, like a knowing, but you can actually have physical symptoms or reactions to it's to actually humanify it, a fight or flight kind of response, a gut feeling. You know, that's kind of where some people can have it. A nervousness, like a tingling in your skin, or raising, the raising of your hair on your arms, kind of. Yeah. And those kind of things can be like if you're in danger, kind of intuition. But there's a different kind of intuition where you are quiet enough to hear it. You pay attention to whispers maybe in your ear, or just in a knowingness of situations. And my real life situation happens to be with a teenage daughter who, like all teenagers alike, have situations with their friends, relationship issues. And I know when I was going through that, no one ever told me to listen to myself. It was always, what's the peanut gallery say? What does this friend say? What does that friend say? And I think there's still a lot of that going on. And it occurred to me after, several times of this, that this is a skill that can be developed when we're little, and should be, because, now as 29-year-olds, we're still trying to develop what that is, what that looks like, what that feels like. And as we both
had been taught to trust it, to recognize it and to trust it when we were younger, we wouldn't still be struggling at 29.
We might, but the thing, our skill would have been, we could have practiced a whole.
How old is she?
14.
14. Okay.
14. And so this particular situation is, how do I trust what a boy is saying? How do I know this is, accurate when there's words from a different friend that, he may be saying the same thing to her, and, oh, I didn't see that coming, and what should I do? Well, of course, Mama Bear, I've got lots of things to tell her what to do, but I get to say, what do you think? What do you think you should do? How do you feel about it? How do you feel, that this might be off? And to really recognize.
What's the this? Can you share the this? What's the this that
I like you situation, where he may be also saying I like you to someone else, but she found that out through the someone else, and it's typical, very typical.
Do you have an agenda here? Does the other someone else? Yeah, and she's
right. It's very typical. Exactly. So who can I trust? So this always brings in the baggage of going through situations and learning to trust your intuition, learning to put yourself out there, potentially be hurt, and then do that all over again if you were. And the important part about your intuition, and the important part about learning to trust your own instincts, is that it doesn't necessarily just happen. Like takes some practice. There's situations that you find yourself in all the time where you can develop your intuition. And it is something that we keep getting chances, we keep getting opportunities, and it's always practice. It's always something that can be developed, always can get better. So it's never something that should be something that you judge yourself if you do it incorrectly.
Right. You look at it and you go, oh, I missed that one.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Oops.
And
And like in this situation, I mean, it's the whole, I'm hearing a message that I want to hear, that I like the message. I mean, I'm assuming that she
it's
likes
complimentary for sure.
you know,
Yeah.
she likes the idea that the
Mhm.
boy likes her. Or that he might like her. So it's like I'm receiving this message I want to hear, and all the good feels that come along with that. And then where is the where is the sensation coming from that says, oh, you can't trust this message?
Mm-hmm.
For me,
Mm-hmm.
that I've learned, it took me until I was 29 plus a few years
Mm-hmm.
to learn that if that, oh, you can't trust this,
Mm-hmm.
it's maybe,
why would they like me? What, yeah.
it's racing,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
this activity, and
Mhm.
it locates itself up here in me. I mean, I don't know if that's unique to me, but for me, I've learned to identify that if it's going on up here and and
So would you call that the train of thought?
that's a good name for it.
Uh-huh.
So
if you draw a conclusion based on all the thoughts that are
kind of
coming.
noisy. It's noisy,
Mm-hmm.
and it's chaotic, and
Mm-hmm.
it's rocket fire. It's like, well,
Mm-hmm.
there's this reason, and what about this, and
Mm-hmm.
and then down here, below the neck for me,
Mm-hmm.
is, and so, and it's been a while since I've dealt with the issue in question here, but it might be, more likely that if the information I'm getting says, hey, now, wait a minute, but wait a minute, maybe, yeah, you're hearing this, and I'm glad you're happy you're hearing this from this young man, but there's something that just makes you go, but wait a minute. And it may not set off alarms. It may not set that, to me, and that's just my experience of early years now of trying to tell the difference between which messages are trustworthy and which messages are noise. That's where I'm beginning to arrive at. So I don't know how that fits with what discussion you had with her, or.
Well, and yeah, and I don't know for sure what hers are. And I think that there are other ways that people, besides, that's a great one. And I think for someone starting out and trying to figure out where their intuition and how their intuition is speaking to them. And let's call intuition something else. Let's call it your higher self, because I really do think an intuition is actually your higher self protection mode, your self talking to yourself.
The part of you that
that knows everything,
knows what's going on,
yeah.
And isn't troubled by whatever
an outcome. Yeah, an outcome.
Yeah.
And so it's the being part of you that knows everything. And so that realization there is powerful, because you're like, oh, how can I trust my intuition? Well, your intuition is God. And most of it, that's a pretty safe bet on your highest good in mind.
I'm always quoting A Course in Miracles, and one of my favorite quotes fits here, which is, the Holy Spirit, which is your higher self. I mean, the HS,
Yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
Spirit, higher self. So
Yeah.
the Holy Spirit,
Great.
your higher self will never shout above the shrieking ego.
Uh-huh.
And
so you got to turn it down.
you gotta
Mm-hmm.
turn down the volume on the noise and get still and get quiet.
So, and I believe that the ego most of the time is the self-doubting voice. It's the voice that tells you you're doing it wrong, or they don't like you, or it can't possibly be true, or it's a really big naysayer. So, intuition speaks differently. Intuition is protective, but not destructive.
Right.
And so there is a different tune, a different frequency to that. The ego may think it's got your best interest, especially after years of maybe building walls and protection mode and I don't want to get hurt. And, so as learning this as a child is so much better than trying to learn what is your ego, what is your intuition once you've had that pain and wall and,
I think another way to discern between ego and intuition, or ego and higher self, is ego always has a judgment. This is good, or this, oh, this is real. Because ego's like, oh, this is great. Oh, this is awful. Oh, this is good. Oh, this is bad. Oh, this is, and intuition says, this is. It's neither good nor bad.
There's no label of good and bad. Yeah.
Judgment. This is what's happening. And okay, so here's where you are. What next? Okay, you could do that. Okay, you could do that. I feel like that's one of the energetic differences between them.
Yeah. And to hear those, and you said it even in that calm, steady, quiet voice, you have to be still.
It's always in charge.
Always, yes.
I only know about that other voice by hearsay.
Yeah. That's Steady Joe.
I read about it in a book.
So taking the time to just be quiet, and it doesn't, and I think this always leads back into meditation. But I've also come to think that meditation doesn't need to be what people think it needs to be. Like, I think we have it a little bit wrong to sit in lotus position for hours on end. I think the quietness is intention. And the more often you do it, sitting still and be quiet, less distraction, the quicker these messages flow through, and the more frequent they flow through. So, setting aside this time to sit and be still and quiet for 30 minutes, waiting for something to happen, isn't quite the relationship that you have to develop. And maybe at first, and maybe for some people, in my experience, I can have a busy day with lots of things going on, lots of life, lots of real stuff happening. And I could get just as many messages by where I'm tuning and how I'm holding my frequency, my vibration, than if I sat and meditated for an hour and then was grouchy, and then was, not looking for it or not open for it. And so, we just talked about this in a call yesterday.
Our
yeah, about something that's new in my practice because of how much I have going on right now. I have not been on the regular meditation, but the intention and the way I start my day with an opening prayer of grounded protection and go ahead and open up my free will to have angels intercede on my behalf. Like, I get it done right away. Tell me where to be, tell me who to talk to, tell me where to focus, tell me what I need, line things up for me to my highest good. Now go for it. It's in your hands. And that's how the day starts. And that's a 30-second routine.
So how do you translate that to the teenagers? Because I got to tell you, mine ain't having it.
Yeah.
Mine's 18, just turned 18. And
Uh-huh.
it's funny because I don't think we've really talked about this exact topic as far as, all of the intuition work that you and I have done, and meditation has been a big part of that, but also learning that there are, as you just said, other things we can do in a meditative spirit, in a purposeful, still spirit that have the same effect. How? Because I'll be honest, I just gave up. I just gave up on mine because I thought she, when she was little, I would tell her, sit, take a moment, just breathe. And she'd go, I'm centering my chi. I'm centering my chi. Mom, I had a altercation, something so-and-so made me mad on the playground today. And I said, what did you do? And she said, I sat down and I centered my chi. And I thought, she was like 8 years old when that happened. Well, that was probably the last centered day she centered her chi, or purposefully did that. Since then, since she's just turned 18, and I try not to be offended by that. I'm her mother, and so by definition, we're pulling away and we're exerting our own influence, and she doesn't have time or energy for that, and is annoyed when I suggest that it might help.
Well,
her head. I don't know what like you
well,
have.
for one, she's got a background of it. That seed's already planted. And so when she comes into her own path, as far as when that's supposed to show up for her, she'll accept it faster than if it was a brand new idea, I think. So I think,
be her idea.
Yeah, which is always better. So I think that's one thing going for. If she didn't accept it, then it's kind of like food. You know what? You've given her a sample of everything you can do, and she'll choose to eat what she wants. And when she gets older, her palate will change. And I think it's the same with her spiritual journey. I think she's got what she needs. She sees what you do. That's the best thing you can do, is model it.
Right.
And as far as actually the specific conversations that we have, because again, it's a different path for everyone. Not everyone does it the same way I do it. And for her, she has a lot of recentering and balancing and raising her vibration with journaling, with artwork. So for her, that meditative state may be through something else.
That is a meditative state. I'm convinced of it when she's doing those things,
Yeah. Well, and for Bailey, it's when she's in her groove, when she's drawing, when she's acting, when she's doing those things that are what she is supposed to do, she's centering her chi. So the last time it happened was not on the playground at 8 years old. Not when she was 8. I guarantee you. But
so how did those conversations? Do you have those conversations with yours, with Stella and Jackson?
Yeah.
Jackson?
Still mostly. Jackson's path is a little bit different, and he hears, but he kind of does his own thing, which is this is fine.
His portal is the physical through his.
Well,
through
his spiritual journey is very religious.
Okay.
He has, the Catholic background. His centering of his chi is praying the rosary. His routine is his, and totally different than mine ever was. And so, that is, I think, the the pavement was laid with a journey is important. Choose how you will and what it looks like to you, and that's what brings him comfort. That's what brings him close to higher spirit, higher self.
That
So,
praying of the rosary is a very deliberate meditative act. Each
mhm,
bead, it's a,
mhm,
it's a mindful,
mhm.
very present process, or
Right,
at least
right.
it creates the tool to be. So
Right. That is
things
what it
are
is
happening.
for. Hmm.
Things are happening there.
Yeah, yeah. So and going back into the intuition thing, when we are able to do these practices, whatever it looks like, whether it's prayer or meditation or artwork or energy work, we are big components of the energy. Anything that raises that vibration helps that intuition flow, helps on a regular basis. When you keep those energy centers open and squeaky clean, your intuition can speak a little louder, or you can be more receptive, however it works, whatever it looks like. But it is something that needs to be intentional. It doesn't just happen when you go on and you live in the real world and
Right.
you have the distractions and you have the situations. It's now even where I find myself even in a tough conversation. Like I'm having a conversation. You ever been this way? You're in a conversation and you're like, I cannot handle this by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so as they're talking, or as
Uh-huh.
you call in your help. You're like,
And that has been a
okay.
recent occurrence. And
Mm-hmm.
it occurs to me just sitting here talking to you how, because I'm not meditating with regularity. I'm certainly not doing a scheduled sit down even daily at this point.
Uh-huh.
Um, um, but
I think those are like cleanses. I've come to realize they're like, at some point you'll get in that again. You'll do that again. You'll be on a regular
right,
basis. It'll feel good. And then maybe it might be a little hard to maintain, and you'll find a different way to get, and then
agree.
you'll go back to that again.
I think
But
the years of doing that pretty regularly, again, that whole Course in Miracles thing, I got
mhm,
tricked into being a meditator by the Course in Miracles because they don't mention the M word, and I was doing it before I knew it. But so there was a period of time for several years where it was a regular part of my life,
mhm,
and a regular part of my daily life.
mhm,
And I can look back now, and I've just had this, as we've been talking, realize that my ability, I'm not doing it regularly now, but my ability now to do what you just said in the middle of
mhm,
whatever's happening, if it's
mhm,
a heated discussion, or,
mhm,
watching things, tragedies unfurl on TV or
mhm,
on the news,
mhm,
or
mhm.
whatever,
Big one.
my
Mhm.
my ability to just go, sometimes actually physically, and sometimes sort of, virtually,
Mhm.
and so that the person doesn't see that I'm,
Mhm. Yeah.
but my ability to do that is based on all those repetitions. It,
Yeah. Okay. The
is
foundation, just like what we were talking about with Bailey,
exactly.
the foundation of knowing what it's like to
So,
be in that state.
yeah, and I now, and even just like you said, opening up those energy centers, I literally do a thing where I physically, like, think, okay, I'm gonna open my head, and so I just,
Mhm.
and then I'm gonna open
Mhm.
my throat. Okay, I'm gonna open my heart.
Mhm.
I don't do
Mhm.
all seven, but it's pretty much, my mind,
Mhm. Mhm.
my throat, my heart.
Mhm.
I should work on all seven because it really feels.
Well, at least don't forget your third eye, because that is your ability,
And
to
that one
connect.
is
Yeah.
still in
Yeah.
my mind.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
what I'm
It's
seeing
up
in the
there.
world.
Mhm. Mhm.
It is the lens through
Mhm.
which
Mhm.
I see, and
Mhm.
like for instance, this lens makes it easier for me to
Mhm.
see fine print than without it.
Mhm.
So same.
Mhm. Mhm. And we talked about this just the other day too, because when you have that moment, or when you have those moments and you have that foundation and you know what it's like to be connected with spirit at the highest vibration. So when your frequency is up there and things are rocking and rolling, and this is it, and you're living in it. Esther Hicks would call this the vortex. When you're in the vortex, you know what it's like. And so in a course that I took, we talked about triggers and how what something that can put you in that same state faster than having to go through all those hours of meditation to get there again, because you know what it's like. So you can kind of set your own triggers. We talked about hand position, or I know a particular individual who wears a bracelet, and this bracelet was purchased in that kind of state at that particular time in their life. And it's not only, it's made with I don't know if it was shungite or some sort of black protective stone, but it was also the reminder of that vibrational state.
That
And
immediately takes you there.
So it immediately gets you there. It immediately transports you back into that vibration. Whether you touch it, you look at it, whatever. And I feel like
it's a form of muscle memory.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And the things that do that for me are like crystals and stones and oils. I look at a bottle of, let's call it high vibration. I don't know if there's one like that.
It's a cup of tea, just it's cold now, but when I first did it, when I first pour it, I mean, it's the whole feeling the cup and the aroma and the steam and the heat and
those are the triggers. Those are the shortcuts. The high vibration for dummies. Let's just but so we
idiot proof.
But we bring up a good point. Maybe that foundation does need to be there to be able to get to that. Someone just starting their path can't just say, okay, I want to be in a high vibration.
Well, I have a good example of that. One of my lifelong best friends, who, is not on this type of a path, with me, and is more of a traditional, she's she is a muggle. She would not like that if I.
Oh, sorry.
It's true. But she, she's on a more traditional, traditional Orthodox Christian path. And we had a conversation. It's been within the last year or so, and she had something happen. I think she was having a situation at work with her boss, and I giggled after the fact because I thought, well, why did she call me to talk about this? Because to me, it was no surprise about how I was going to respond to that, which was she was very upset and very angry, and not that I didn't think she had a good reason to be. In terms of the facts that had occurred, there was a part of me that was just as outraged on her behalf that this situation had unfolded the way it was, and the old me would have been like, well, you need to tell her this, and you need to tell her this, and you need to tell. And I mean, the old me, that part of me, still alive and well, as you may have heard from time to time. But in that moment, because I have learned that that's not a helpful thing. I'm sitting there and I'm like, and I said, just take a breath. Just take a deep breath in. I think we were texting, because I said, okay, deep breath in, deep breath out. And I'm literally doing this while I'm texting this to her, and I'm feeling much better. And I just pissed her off because I can't breathe, and I don't want to breathe, and I don't want to be angry. I don't want to not, she wanted to be angry. She didn't want anything, and I thought, oh, I have stepped in it. And I mean, because it was a version of me trying to fix it, trying to help her feel better. That was not what she wanted at that moment, and so it was like she couldn't even conceive of the possibility that was remotely a solution to this situation. Just isn't.
But it also is a shining example of, and I'll use vortex again, or high vibration, that once you feel what it feels like to be closer to spirit and be in a higher vibration, being in that is less comfortable.
Mhm.
But there are people who are very comfortable because they don't know any better.
Right. It's
And
just where
so,
they've been.
yeah, so it is
Yeah.
fine for her. So you were probably more uncomfortable with her being there than she was.
That is a really good point.
Mm.
That this was just, you know, it was a very practical situation. It was a very black and white situation. This was right, this was wrong. And and you're right. I was more uncomfortable
Mhm.
with
On her behalf.
on her behalf. Yeah.
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 She was actually really comfortable in the notion of her rightness at that point.
Yeah, sure.
And
No, yeah.
and yeah. And I just needed to be a witness to that and just let
Yeah.
it be.
Yeah.
Let it be.
Yeah.
I can hear the Beatles, let it be.
Yeah, your songs. Yeah. I love it. There's a song for everything.
There is a song for
Song for
everything.
everything. Well, I think it was a really good topic. I think intuition is something that we're always developing, something we'll always get another chance to develop, and something we never finish developing, something that we just continue to get to work on. The same with being in the vibration of love, being in the vortex. We will never always be there because life just doesn't let us stay there. So being able to bounce out of a lower vibration faster, being able to recognize faster when we are in that spinning out state. Those are all just part of just being here, being on earth, having relationships, having bosses, and so the beauty of it is
Having
just
annoying spiritually based best friends.
right, right. Or yeah. So, I mean, the beauty is we just continue to get these opportunities, and that is what life is. So we never get it right 100% of the time, and we never get finished. And that sounds overwhelming and sounds negative, but it
It's
should
all
be,
it's all part of the fun. It's all
yeah,
part
it
of
should
the fun.
be, it should take a weight off because you're never going to be, it's never going to be perfect.
Well, and
Never
what
going
you
to
said
not
at the
be.
very beginning is you always get a chance to do it over. You always
Always.
get a chance
Yes.
to try again, to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
There's always a
And
do-over.
I'll finish with this one last little thing because it's another thing we do around our house. Sometimes when we mess up and we do something and we know it immediately, like something comes out of your mouth and you're like, I, wish I hadn't have said that
That never
immediately.
happens to me.
We get to redo right now. Redo, time out, stop, grab it back. Okay, I'm going to say that over again.
Rewind that tape.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And that
That's-
gets faster too, because, and I still do it too. Like I'll go to the other room and go, and I'll turn around and, come back up and finish it. But the second it comes out of your mouth, if just say it when you know it.
I'm
You
taking
don't
a
have
note
to,
here.
yeah,
I'm
you don't
taking-
have to wait the 24-hour rule, or you don't have to, and hopefully that,
And in that moment,
helps
you
with
just
yeah,
get present, get
Yeah.
open.
yeah. Because
Take
it doesn't give you the time to work through everything you did wrong and beat yourself up for 24 hours or whatever. And the same with, the same with
Yeah.
whomever you puked on. You don't have to let them stew in it or feel bad, because most of the time they're willing to let you redo that because that didn't feel good.
In our house, that works pretty well. But
Mhm.
it takes a minute. I'm quicker in both directions. I'm quicker to be triggered, and go, "Rah!" and because it's just me and my daughter, and and she's sitting there going,
Mhm.
and then but I'm also quicker to go, okay, I'm sorry, we got it.
Mhm.
And at that point, now it's taken her a while to get mad, well, then it's going to take a minute, you know.
To let that go. Yeah.
Yeah. But she's you know, I feel like she's sincere when she says, I'm not there yet, but I trust you, Lily, and I'm getting better about going, okay, I'll go to my
I mean,
corner.
that's the best you can ask
Yeah.
for, because she's being honest. Yeah. Yeah.
And she's not usually a jerk about it. So
Yeah.
so yeah.
All developing those skills of interpersonal relationships. Now let's throw spirit into the mix.
Always helps. So
Always. It does. It always helps.
well, this has just been delightful. You know, I don't often get to look at you while we're having these conversations.
Right.
It's kind of nice.
Yeah. Same to you.
Look at that boy sleep.
Well, thanks for talking about intuition today. And of course, as always, our subjects go a little bit off. But we try to but everything's relative, and it all circles back.
I'll put maybe little tags in the comments, and if anybody has questions or comments, you can always we have our email addresses in the description, and you can call or comment, or not call, but email or message. I'm happy to have a conversation.
Yes, absolutely. So thanks again for joining us, and we look forward to next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.